back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back. Today, we are receiving more bad news coming out from the stock market. A lot of stuff for us to talk about. As of right now, recession concerns are at all-time high, and the American people are now more worried of the U.S. entering a recession, which will be a troubling effect for the U.S. economy. Why that's a big problem? Well, they have family to feed, they have mortgage to pay, they have things to spend on, and when a stalling in our economy, it will just halt our financial infrastructure and the circulation of the US dollar. So that is very concerning. So there was a recent study done by Bankrate, and they have found nearly 69% of Americans are worried that the US will enter a recession by next year. That is very concerning, folks. That is very concerning. When the American people have less confidence in the U.S. market, we are expecting a downturn within the near future, and things could persist month and month. Inflation is a very problematic problem within the long run. It cannot be solved within 2 months. It's nearly impossible. It can take years to solve inflation. Right now, let's look here. At a time when the U.S. economy is clearly showing slowing and inflation remains troubling high, a new bankroll poll suggests concern about the economic outlook are top of American mind. This is very concerning. Let's look here. Nearly 7 out of 10 Americans say that the U.S. might enter a recession before the end of next year, with 29% saying they are very worried and another 40% saying they are somewhat worried. This is a very problematic situation. Let's look at here. 7 out of 10 respondents say they are worried the U.S. will enter a recession by the end of next year. Lack of confidence in the market, lack of confidence in the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy is not heading in the right direction. We are heading in the wrong direction here. Let's hear. At the same time, more than 2 in 5 in bankroll poll feel that they would be unprepared to handle a downturn if one were to begin before the end of next year. Why is this happening? Well, inflation had eaten up their savings. There's no money left in their saving account. How can they survive through that long perilous journey when inflation is the cost and the price for everything they purchases? That is a problem, folks. Inflation concerns are rising. Let's look more. We have more data coming out. So there was a recent study here. They have found nearly 88% of investors are now worried about inflation rate hike. We have talked about rate hike. Many economists are fearing that the Fed will raise up another 75 basic point rate hike. That is another 3/4 rate hike within our future. We are seeing tighter monetary policy which will restrict the flow of the US dollar and will eventually lead the US dollar to stall. That is a problem when our economy becomes stalled, because when it becomes stalled, there's no movement within the US economy. Everything would just collapse. After nearly 8 months of market volatility, many investors still worry about rising interest rate and how they affect their portfolio. We have seen that. With higher interest rate, the performance of a company go down and the value of that company go down and decline due to a rise in interest rate. There's still another projection of another 75 basic point that will be hiked by the Federal Reserve in September. That is what really concerning for the American people. Let's look forward. We have seen something. So data just came out today, very shocking for durable good. We have seen no changes. Economic predict a 1% increase. No changes, folks. Core capital equipment order. They went up, then it went up. But what really alarming is that the housing market is cooling down. We are seeing a negative 1%. Forecasts were at 3%, so we did beat economic expectation here. But however, the decline in home sale actually raising concern. There must be a housing bubble coming up, or there may be one, or we are in one. So there's still a lot of stuff going on, and this is just something very problematic for the U.S. economy. Let's look forward. So there was a current statement coming out from Zillow. They say U.S. house value fell for the first time since 2022. We are in the housing bubble right now. Everything just burst. And we are seeing a decline of house value. falling down significantly. And Zillow just say, hey, be prepared because as in rise in interest rate, we are going to continue to see less buyer from the market and less liquidation from the housing market. But what they say for sure that the housing market is not going to crash, but it is feeling the pain and the burn of rising interest rate because buyers are now very cautious, whereas now they are willing to buy a home since they are now have to pay a significant chunk of interest to take out a loan. So they say here, after 2 years, buying is cooling off at mortgage rate rise. And some of us might be feeling or calling this a housing recession. But there's still more stuff to come out from the market. A lot of uncertainty is filling up. Let's look more. So when the value of house gone down, we have seen the value, the price of rent has gone up significantly. Median rent price hit all-time high in July, folks. That is very opposite here. That is very opposite. Let's hear. The combined effect of the COVID-19 pandemic and inflation have contributed to large gain in U.S. rent price, and we have seen that. We have seen how rent price have jumped up significantly. And it's really a cost intended to say, hey, God, we are no longer able to afford this to pay this rent. And we are forced to relocate due to rise in price and rent. In July 2019, urban rent was 12.4% higher than suburban rent nationally, while the premium slipped to 4.9% in the peak of suburban rent growth in 2021. And he said it had just taken back up to 5.8. The analysis also reviewed saw that we are seeing a $160 increase in rent per month on average when renewing leases this year, in addition to a $360 increase from new leases. We have seen Manhattan had always been breaking the headline. It's like rent in Manhattan right now is more than $5,000 average within that area. So inflation is up and it's hurting the American people. We are feeling the pain. And let's look here. What's very problematic coming out from the U.S. market is that data are now indicating that U.S. business activity are now falling at a faster pace since May 2020. Less investment within the U.S. market is a very problematic sign. It is a sign of saying, hey, we are seeing slow growth, slow performance, and we are slowing down from expanding our operation. This could have a trickling effect since the Fed continue to raise up their interest rate. This will cause the economy to pull back since there are less investment within the market. Let's look here. The contraction was particularly deep among service sector firms, while the S&P Global Services Business Activity Index landed at 44.1%, down from 47.3% read in July. The manufacturing index dropped from 52.1% in June to 51.3% in August. This is slow growth, and we are seeing the U.S. economy is slowing down. That's why many economists are now fearing of the U.S. economy entering a recession by the end of next year, or by mid of next year, or by the end of this year. And we are feeling this pain as inflation has gone up. Housing value is still on a decline, but rent price has gone up significantly. We are preparing for the worst, and the worst might happen, and stuff are not looking good, folks. Things are not looking good. And I know what are my thoughts with the market right now. At the market right now, we are seeing a lot of uncertainty within the U.S. market. There's still a growing fear of the U.S. entering a recession, and we are preparing for that very tragic news if that ever happened in our current time. And then I hope everyone enjoys my video. And if you do, please click on that subscribe button, and also don't forget to click that like button. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.